Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Chief Digital Officer and CEO Nordic Choice Hotels and eBerry, Lisa Farrar, in discussion with Skift Travel Tech Editor Sean O'Neill.
So we just heard from Booking.com, and all of the tech companies say that hotels should focus on what hotels do best, which is hospitality, and leave the tech to them, the tech experts. And so we're thrilled now to get a somewhat different perspective from Lisa Farrar, Chief Digital Officer from Nordic Choice Hotels and Chief of eBerry. Thank you for joining us at Skift Forum Europe, Lisa.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so Nordic Choice Hotels, you have more than 195 properties in 6 countries.
Yep.
You have more than 16,000 employees. From the outside, for people who are not familiar, it might seem a bit like a generic regional hotel chain. So what makes your group distinctive?
Yeah, no, we definitely consider ourselves to be different. And I guess there are a couple of reasons why we think that. One is we're a very large player in a small market. So we're the biggest hotel chain in Sweden and Norway. And we're very knowingly focusing on being that big player in a small market. It gives us opportunities that we think we wouldn't have otherwise. We're also operating our own majority of those hotels ourselves, so we can guarantee the type of experience and digital features that some of our larger competitors are struggling with. But the other reason why we really think we're different is really the main one, and that's that we're privately owned. So Petter Stordalen, who started the company more than 20 years ago, is still the sole shareholder. And so we have the luxury of not having quarterly reports, stock exchange to adhere to, or delivering those short-term gains that a lot of our both local and international competitors are very focused on. Okay. And that gives a lot of opportunities, especially in technology and innovation.
So as the owner has a particular vision, and what are you particularly excited about?
Oh, so there's so many things we're excited about. Our owner is, and I think we as a company have this nice combination of being privately owned and having a huge appetite for risk. So when it comes to technology, we tend to do a lot of experimentation. We made a big decision 4 years ago, that the biggest bet we have in the future is that we want to deliver experiences. We do not want to become a commodity. And so to do that and to really own our customers going forward, which we think is essential if we're going to deliver experience, we have to invest in technology. Mm-hmm. And we have to do something that no one else has done before. And so in 2015, we created eBerry, which I head up.
It's a tech subsidiary?
Yes, I would say it's much more than tech. We're responsible for everything from customer service, so extremely analog, to sales, marketing, distribution, technology, and a few other areas. So we're fairly broadly responsible. But one of the major changes we did was to in-house our technology and really build a platform that enables us to deliver those experiences going forward. So a platform that makes us much more agile. We can test new business models, we can test new technologies, and work with startups and global firms in a very different way than we could before.
That's fascinating. A lot of people must be envious. If you mentioned direct bookings, you mentioned owning the customer. Have you had success in driving more direct bookings?
Yeah, so you saw Booking.com previously. I think we're all probably a little bit tired of hearing about that fight between the OTAs and the hotels. And I think actually the hotels have a lot to thank the OTAs for. We would definitely not be here today or be as good at technology as we are today if it wasn't for the OTAs. And travel industry probably wouldn't have gone through the digital transformation that we have done fairly early on in comparison to a lot of other industries if it wasn't for them. So I think we have a lot to say thank you for. But today, we really want to make sure that we have that direct connection with our customers. So we have strategic partnerships with some of those partners, which deliver traffic that we can't get access to ourselves. And then we really strive to get our local domestic customers direct. So in 2015, we were looking at a flat, if not negative growth in our own channels. Mm-hmm. And speeding forward to 2019, we have delivered 20 to 25% growth annually. So we're looking at really changing the trajectory whilst getting the OTA traffic in a much more controlled space.
Fantastic. So you mentioned some tech experiments. You joined 4 years ago. Yeah. One of the projects you've led up is a mobile app. And so let's say I'm a business traveler visiting one of the most sophisticated Nordic Choice hotels, what would I be able to do as a guest with the app?
Yeah, so we've set ourselves the humble mission of delivering the world's best guest journey. So part of that is an app, just because the technology in an app is what can deliver certain features today. So you will be able to do everything from booking your stay, checking in, choosing your room, chatting with our staff, regardless if it's you need an extra pillow or you need room service, checking out. So really a seamless kind of journey through that feature.
Okay. When we heard from Booking.com, Andreas said that alternative accommodations is growing a lot. Is Nordic Choice playing in that, alternative accommodations?
Yeah, we think we're well poised to deliver that kind of hotel feeling to other aspects of our customers' life. And so homes is one of those areas, both in terms of maybe renting out your home whilst you're staying with us, but maybe also delivering the hotel service to your home as it is today. So absolutely looking at that space.
And we had talked before we went on stage, you guys recently acquired about 3 companies, so you have about 3,000 service department rentals as part of the
Yeah, it's 4,
right?
I think. We're growing
4,000.
rapidly.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool. So we're going to hear later from Selena, which is a company that's interested in like co-working. Do you see office space or anything as a space to play in? Or?
Yeah, it's offices are kind of the forgotten hospitality area, you could think. So if you imagine all the services and the fantastic environments we deliver in our lobbies and our hotels, we can really take that to a whole different area and access our customers' lives much more frequently. So we're looking at JVs and partnerships in that co-working space, but also utilizing our own existing properties in a much more interesting way, which provides kind of everyday interaction.
So I just want to build on that point. You mentioned connecting with your customers more frequently. So Sebastian Bazan from Accor Hotels, he's talked about this as well. You want to have more touch points. So could you elaborate a bit on what your goal is with as a brand?
Yeah, absolutely. So we talked about this before. We have this idea, we're toying with this idea that what if platinum losers become a concept in the future?
So that's platinum losers?
That's right,
okay.
Platinum losers. So I'm sure many of you in this room has those kind of loyalty cards in your pocket that you might be very proud of having, that we travel a lot and we kind of climbed up this loyalty ladder where we're getting all kinds of services as rewarding us for that frequent travel. But what if in the future, and even in the very near future, our customers will expect something different? They will not value that type of card anymore. It will not be seen as cool to have a platinum card or a gold card or whatever that ladder might be that we have climbed. And instead, our customers will value very different things. They will value spending time with their family, spending time in nature, having a flexibility that doesn't mean they're on the road 60 days a year. So that corporate warrior that we're all fighting to get, maybe that's not what people really want to drive for in the future. And so what does that mean for us? We all have, or a lot of us have loyalty programs that are really geared around that kind of frequent traveler and rewarding those frequent travelers. So we're looking at how can we look at loyalty in the future and reward other types of behavior. And I think that accessibility is a really interesting piece. And this is driven by both the kind of change in society with being much more aware of our surroundings, the sharing economy, the rental economy, as Raphael talked about this morning. And how can we then reward that type of behavior? So not just when our customers stay the night with us, but when they access our properties or interact with us or reviews us in other aspects. So co-working could be that, co-living could be that, but also breaking down those 4 walls that we think about as a hotel. Could our hotels be accessible in your home market? We deliver fantastic experiences, restaurants, gyms, parties. Could we really add value to our customers' lives when they're in their own cities? Because we have that access. We have 200 hotels, so we cover most of the Nordic cities. So that's an interesting idea going forward.
For sure. Ambitious. Many of the people in this room are frequent business travelers, and at least my experience is it's a bit like a pie eating contest where the reward is more pie. And so you're rewarded with more travel on the airline or more, the bigger suite at the hotel. But in the age of sustainability and worrying about carbon and stuff, it kind of makes sense to try to mix up what is loyalty going to mean in the future as we go ahead. I'm wondering, to get back to the point that we talked at the start, so the tech companies, they make a plausible argument that tech companies have a specialty. Why not let them do the core competency rather than building things in-house? Because Scandinavia, there's a lot of hot tech companies. You have Spotify. You have to compete for engineers in the broader market. So why take this risk?
I think not just in hotel or hospitality. I think any company that doesn't want to become a commodity has to look at technology as a core piece of their business. Technology will enable you to have that direct communication with your customer. So I think anyone that's interested in having that relationship, having that communication, enabling personalization going forward has to understand that technology is a key part of that. And then whether you decide to build your own or you partner with small or big companies to deliver the technology, that will be a core piece of your business going forward. We are smaller than the big ones, we're larger than the small ones, so when it comes to technology, it's a difficult spot to be in because we can't always buy it. And we have everything from ski hotels to spa hotels, so a very diverse portfolio. We're taking the stance that we need to build our own, everyone talks about platforms, but we need to have our own flexible platform, which we can then connect to both build and bought technology going forward to make us much more agile and faster in testing new business models, testing new technologies, really being where our customers are expecting us to be in terms of their everyday life.
You referred to at the beginning of the topic, you have a strong market position, especially in the business hotel segment, and that's kind of allowed you to have a tailwind when it comes to getting business customers to be willing to download your app, be willing to invest in your product. I think a lot of business travelers, it's a commodity offering, the bed, I just want to get in and get out. Yeah. Are you able to really build affection for that? I have much more affection for Airbnb if I'm staying in a cute rainforest, place.
Sure. Yeah. So we have the luxurious position of being this dominant player in a fairly small market. So I appreciate not everyone has that ability to offer or have such frequent guests. But we've also taken the position that to choose your room, which we really believe to be one of these key features that will make people want to download our app and will be delivering value to them. You have to be a member. So it's a pure members app, and that is a bit of a stake to take, but we believe that is also part of driving our direct business. And so we are seeing downloads going well, maybe not better than expected, but it's going well. And the measure that we really focused on is our monthly users. So how many of those downloads are actually using our app? And so far we've been hugely humbled and surprised how high that is. So if we keep delivering on that high usage, we know we're doing something right. So that's kind of the key metric that we keep looking at.
Yeah, I would definitely think the actual user activity is more important than the downloads per se. You've had several world firsts. What are some other digital things that you've done that you're proud of?
Yeah, so we're so humble. We're talking about the best guest journey and all these world firsts that this small Norwegian company is delivering. We do a ton of tests all the time. A lot of them fail, a lot of them are fuck-ups, but sometimes we hit the sweet spots. And so when I came in 2016, the team had done some really interesting things around voice. And so we were the first in the world to really try out Alexa and having that sort of butler service in our rooms. That turned out to be a sweet spot, and we were able to scale one room up to almost 40,000 rooms. So that was a really interesting one. We're currently doing a lot around blockchain and seeing how can we potentially use blockchain to look at different areas of distribution and different cost of distribution as well. We have 200 hotels. They're all, or most of them are positioned in fantastic locations around the Scandinavian area. We saw this morning about the retail death. Well, how can we, with our properties positioned in these great places, actually become a retail player potentially? So we're doing some tests around that. Around the idea that when you come into your room, that's personalized down to a wardrobe that is in your size and the types of clothes that you have purchased previously. And you can buy it, you can hire it, or you can just try it. Those are the kind of interesting things that we're right now looking at.
So there's a lot of people who come to Skift conferences, they're ambitious, they have a lot of great ideas, but the idea of going to the owner of the company and asking for budget to go ahead and do blockchain or mobile apps is intimidating. So what was it like when you went to your owner and said, I want a whole bunch of money to create a mobile app instead of outsourcing it?
You know, most often we don't ask. And that is the beauty, I would say. I previously just worked for big American listed companies, and working for a private owner that's also a risk taker is hugely refreshing. We have a lot of autonomy. We have a lot of trust. So we don't, if I had to scale up the decisions around blockchain or AI or technologies that we want to try, it would just take too long, right? So we do a lot of experimentation without having to ask. But I did have to pitch the kind of big platform idea. And his response was, what if you get the double? Can you do it in half the time? And so that's the type of kind of risk appetite
kind of mentality.
And curiosity and really wanting to move fast that we have as a culture.
Okay. We were talking before we went on stage that one of your favorite presentations this morning was from Stephen. What is responsible travel is a light theme that we have here. What do you feel like the hospitality industry can do on like accessibility as an issue?
Yeah, we have a huge responsibility in that, and we were here with my team, and we were saying, God, we're not doing enough in this area. So I think we should always have that curiosity and want to do better than we're doing today. We operate with what we call a triple bottom line. So we look at people, planet, profit, and in that order. So we need to take care of our people, and that is both our employees as well as our customers. Then we need to focus on the planet. And when you stay with us, you should always stay better than at home when it comes to the environment, when it comes to food, electricity and water and so on. And only when we delivered on those two do we look at the profit side. So being that privately owned Norwegian-focused company, we take a huge role in that social responsibility area. But I think definitely you could always do more. And that's why it was such a refreshing thing to hear.
Cool. Last question would be about loyalty before we go to the audience questions. So your program right now, it's pretty basic, generic, what many hotel companies have, spend a krona, get a point. Like, are you going to do something to change it?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So Platinum Blues is a thing we're toying with. I can promise you we'll launch some new features by the end of the year that are looking at a very new way of rewarding loyalty. So interacting with us in different ways and how can we become a bigger part of your life and rewarding you for that as well. So I think loyalty will be exciting going forward.
Fantastic. Well, our first audience question is, what is your relationship with the US-based Choice hotels?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a relationship with them going back 20 plus years ago that was then based on technology and branding. That has since changed a little bit, and currently it's a loosely based partnership. But we're definitely part of Choice International.
Cool. This next question was something that I wanted to ask as well, so I'm glad it was asked. So Intercontinental Hotels group talked about attribute-based booking. They've used Amadeus, which is a tech giant based in Madrid, to completely redo Holodecks, their guest reservation system. And one key thing of that is they want to redo the entire approach to booking based on attribute-based booking. When you do technology in-house, you don't have necessarily the advantage of getting all this scale. So are you going to be able to take advantage of things like attribute-based booking?
I think we don't want to build technology if we don't have to. Technology is not that sexy in itself. It's interesting when we can deliver features that we think are unique or that are core to us. So we will definitely be hooking into all those types of technologies and learning from them, and especially looking at the kind of startup scene and how we can innovate using that.
Okay. You mentioned blockchain. So it was a test that you did with Lufthansa and another partner in blockchain. Is it helpful or is it a distraction to be doing this kind of experiment?
It's very exciting and kind of we're curious to see where it takes us. We make no money today on this. It's Winding Tree is our partner, and I think Still and Lufthansa and a few others are on there. Initially, it will be mostly startups, I think, that are looking to sell a product that can get hold of it much more easily than connecting through the GDS, for example. But this is a way for us to learn about a new technology, seeing how we can work with it. And then maybe in 3 to 5 years, this could kind of scale up and become more interesting. But it's not something that takes a massive amount of time. And it's just really interesting and keeps us on our toes to see what new types of things do we need to interact with and learn from.
How optimistic are you that blockchain could actually disrupt inventory? We talked earlier, Booking.com is one of the major tech platforms that are out there. There's several intermediaries similar like that. Do you believe that distributed platforms are going to really be able 5-10 years from now to make a change, or do you?
I think they're absolutely interesting, and I mean it's not, again, that's not sexy part. It's just a way to distribute your inventory. But if this could enable you to cut costs and run more efficient operations, then that's definitely an area you should be responsible for looking into.
So let's talk about labor as a hot topic. So how should the hospitality industry address challenges related to labor and talent?
Wow. Yeah, so labor is a huge, I mean, we're, as I said, a big player in a small market, and it's we have 16,500 employees. We really struggle to get hold of all types of groups within our employee base, everything from chefs to coders and developers, and we're working with the Nordic authorities to help us, but we're also going abroad to look at how can we actually bring people into the Nordic countries to help us. We work a lot with immigrants. We work with those that come to Sweden and Norway that doesn't necessarily have papers yet, to really get them into the system, help them learn a language, and really embracing that area as well. So it's something that's key to us to be able to deliver services going forward.
As a big player in a small market, how important are brands to you? When we've had some hotel chiefs on stage, they said you can never have enough brands. So what is your view?
Yeah, brands are interesting. I don't think there's a definite answer to it. We have 3 main brands, and then we have 20 independent properties that deliver kind of unique experiences. We see brand play a role when we're wanting to drive direct distribution and really build that experience. But it's also, I think, a previous talker talked to it too, it is a sign on a house. So a brand is really what type of experience are you delivering and what are you filling your hotel with? And I think that's a much more exciting area to dig into than what is the name.
Are there any other hotel groups or brands that particularly excite you right now, or other non-travel brands that you find inspiring in the work that you do?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we should all be curious about what goes on there, and usually it's areas that aren't necessarily in hospitality that I think we can learn from, but in hospitality as well. I think there are a lot of smaller startups that are doing things that we can learn from and are much more innovative in looking at their customers and really working from a customer-centric view that we're learning from.
Wonderful. Well, Lisa, thank you so much for talking with us today. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.